Hello, everyone, and welcome to the M8-ing podcast, the podcast where two mates talk about their journey through life and parenthood. Steve, what are we talking about today, mate?
Well, we've got potentially a slightly controversial topic, which is baby names. I say controversial, it probably means sensitive more than anything else, because you have this kind of mix of people who, some people don't want to talk about baby names at all whilst they're pregnant for whatever reason. You've got a list of people who want to name their kid after their cat's mum's dog's cousin or whatever, and you've got some people who just pick them at random. So I thought it'd be fun to go through our own stories and maybe go through some other names as well. But first of all, how have you been?
Shit, to be honest, mate.
Oh, well, I really came in here with the wrong energy, didn't I?
I'm absolutely fine, mate. It's been a bit of a crazy week, if I'm honest. It's we obviously, we've got doing a lot of wedding planning at the moment. I say we. My other half is. Oh, my phone's just gone.
I'm not sure if our millions of listeners are aware of your news. Is it something you'd like to announce?
Oh, yeah, I'm getting married. Yes, I'm getting married later on this year. I won't give a specific date, but I'm getting married later on this year, which I'm really excited for. And I say that's obviously stressing me out, but it's not. I'm not really doing much of the work. Sam's doing the vast majority of the work on that, so credit to her. On what day are we on? Wednesday, I had an ultrasound on my testicles. Yeah.
That wasn't the direction I thought that you were going to take after talking about the wedding.
Skip past that. I just want to talk about.
I'm loving this. This story could be going anywhere. So,
skip past the wedding.
Let's talk about what's going on.
Man, I've been having a bit of a ball ache, and I just went and got scanned. And the doctor, bless him, he couldn't make eye contact the whole time. He was looking at me from the side, and I was just like, "Just look at me." while scanning. Yeah, it was just a bit weird.
You wanted him to look at you?
No, only when talking, like before the scanning, not during the scanning. No. I walked through the door and he was looking sideways at the wall while I was talking to him. He was like, "I have to ask you, do you need a chaperone in here?" and stuff like that. And I was like, no, it's fine. But yeah, it's all good. It's all healthy. I just have big veins in my balls. So... But it is important to get yourself checked if
that was like wrong. A weird brag, where it's just like, I don't know about you, but I've got pretty big veins in my balls.
Kind of a big deal. No, it's all good. It was a pleasant experience, and but that's been stressing me out a little bit. To be fair, before I had the ultrasound. Now I've had the ultrasound, I'm a little bit better, much better actually, because there's nothing wrong. So
so they've actually come back and said nothing's there, right?
Yeah, and it was super quick, to be fair. The ultrasound, I got the results the same day, which is nice for the way the NHS is going at the moment. So
that's an amazing turnaround, to be fair. Love that. I know you go. Yeah, I do actually have, and I'll give you the watered down version. But like, I have a very similar story, which was where I did find a lump once, and because you're rummaging around, you find something, and I went to the doctors, and I didn't even think about it. I just booked the appointment and I turned up, and this genuinely ridiculously attractive Indian doctor was there. It was a woman, just so we're clear, not just this very handsome man.
Hey, we're very open here.
2023, I know. And I was like, oh no, I was embarrassed, because I just didn't think about it, right? And there was just to add to the complexity, there was a trainee in there as well. So I'm like, excellent. Okay, so I explained my problem. I was like, excellent. Okay, this is not what I thought was going to happen. I'm asked to lie down, and she helps herself into the fruit bowl, and she can't find anything. She actually can't find anything. So she's just there touching me. And only I'm thinking of this in like a mildly erotic way. She's clearly just thinking, this freak wants me to lie there, wants me to just touch him. And she's like, there's nothing here, sir. I'm like, okay.
Are you sure? Just check a little bit more.
It was horrendous. And I actually now can't go back. I cannot go back because there's
God,
there could be like blood in my stool. I could have an arm hanging off. Char's like, do you want to go to the doctor? So I'm like, I'm fine, no. Just in case. Just in case she's there. I felt like that. Sorry, carry on.
No, that's a brilliant story. It is funny though, because prior to, again, trying to relate this back to what the podcast was focused on.
Is it not about balls?
Let's just talk about nuts some more, Steve. We shouldn't have started a podcast.
I disagree. I'd argue this is the best one yet. Just this opening segment.
Trying to relate it back to the topic of the podcast anyway, is I used to be a little bit sheepish. Sheepish be the word. Like, obviously I would never be like, oh no, there's a problem, I'm going to go to, especially when it comes to like private areas, right? I'd always like put it off as much as possible. And I think obviously a lot of people do. But then after seeing, like, going to like gynecologist appointments and stuff like that with Sam, and with like having birth and stuff, and just seeing how like, yeah, you know, just do what you need to. And you see like hands and stuff like that helping the baby get the baby out and stuff. just me. No, that you basically, you're like, oh, actually, I'm being so petty because the women go through like absolutely everything. Yeah, don't even batter an eyelid, and I'm there like, oh, just scan my balls, please.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's pathetic because like even when we were going through IVF, right, Charlotte's having to take all these drugs and have all these appointments and have, you know, as you said, all these, you know, appointments and stuff with quite invasive tests and things like that. I can't remember which one it was. Again, I'm not a doctor, but there's one where they have to kind of inject fluid, fill up her bladder and push down. So she's like, she's like, I need to go to the toilet, and you can't. You have this doctor pushing down. It's something to show. It's just something about the flow of something through somewhere. Again, I work in IT. Okay,
it's the medical term anyway.
Yeah. And I like basically have to go and have a wank in a room. And I'm like, oh God, like it's like,
oh, sorry, for a test, yes. Because that is niche, Steve.
not as a reaction to the test. I don't have to sit there. Well, I have to go and have a wank now. No, I'm actually crying. Like, as an equivalent, I have to go and have a wank in a room. And like, I'm there like, oh, this is an inconvenience. Like, the punchline of this story is now ruined because that was funny.
Yeah,
the rest of the story.
How was your week, mate?
Oh God, how was your week? My week was okay. I've been away with work. I was in San Diego, which was fun. And interestingly, whilst literally, I think night one it was when I was away, Oscar got a pulled elbow. So apparently he just fell over, and I've got a screenshot of it on my phone. I'll have to send it to you. It basically shows how the bone sort of in the elbow moves away from the socket, and because baby's bones are seemingly quite malleable. And it was almost like, you know, I think I've seen a video of it. Like it's almost like looked like a dislocation. Like he couldn't move it properly. Almost like he sucks his fingers a lot for soothing, and he couldn't put them in his mouth. It's not very nice to watch. So after a couple of hours, Shah took him to A&E. And I think fortunately, because he's so small, they prioritized him. And seemingly, doctor just went up, put everything like literally over in a few seconds, and he was fine after that. Apparently it's quite common. So again, something I kind of wish I knew could happen, because I'm not going to lie, I have been like swinging him around by his arms, and I can even sometimes feel little clicks in his wrists, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. So now I know I don't do it because...
There was a guy I used to work with that said, because I didn't know that existed either. And again, similar to you, since Zach was probably about 1 or 2, I've been like lifting him up by his arm. He's been enjoying it, like spinning him around. But I was speaking to a guy at work, and he was telling me that he was trying to get brownie points with his wife and his wife's friends. They took the two dads took all the kids out. And it's something that they haven't done together in a long time. They were just doing it so the mums could have ownership of the kids on the day that they wanted to do something, right? Swings and roundabouts, right? And on the trip out, he said that he was just holding his daughter. It was his mate's friend. It was just holding his daughter's hand. She tripped up, and popped out. So they ended up down A&E, and the same thing happened. I was like, God, I probably should stop swinging my son around and stuff like that.
100%. You're quite heavy-handed with him as well, right? Aren't you? Like, you play rough and tumble, and you don't.
Oh yeah, rough and tumble.
I don't mean like give him a roundhouse or a forearm smash. I just mean
you're quite you know, with him, and
you're quite fisty, aren't you? With him, like no,
but he's like I'll lay on the floor and he'll like jump on me from the sofa, sort of thing. That sort of like wrestling, I guess, and stuff like that. But he loves it. But I often do think like. I remember when I was young, I must have been about 5, 6, and I jumped off something like the sofa armchair and landed funny. That was it. I just broke my arm. I was in a cast, full-on arm cast. So just shows how fragile we all are to some degree.
Yeah, exactly.
Kids are anyway.
For sure. But one glorious moment, to be fair, going back to how the week was, when I came home, I had an inkling she would do it because she was asking me when the flight was coming in and stuff. And typically when I come back from long distance, it's a really inconvenient time. But now it was like, I think it was like 2 p.m. or something. And she was there with Oscar and he like ran up to me at the gate, and she's got it on film. And it's one of my most treasured memories, like him running up to me saying, "Daddy." And it was just absolutely brilliant. Like, you know, I didn't like, you know, sob, but I like a little tear just came out, and it was just, you know, it just basically says that regardless of how much of an arsehole I am in these early years, you know,
someone still loves you.
Someone still loves me. So it's it was brilliant, really nice.
Oh, that's sweet, mate. That's pretty sweet. Should we get on to baby names?
Let's enough of that emotional nonsense.
Yeah.
Like,
let's just move on. Jesus Christ,
banging on. Let's do it. Why don't you start? Where did Zach and Ivy come from?
So, funnily enough, Zach comes from. So, we've obviously got a thing in our family for 3-letter names because we don't like names that can be shortened. Like, for example, I really like the name, when we were deciding baby names, right? I really like the name Vincent. And I was like, I love the name Vincent. I think it's like old school. I think it's classy. I can imagine him dressed in like sort of Peaky Blinders clothes or like a vampire or something. I don't know. And, but then I realized that at school, he'll get called Vinny.
Yeah, 100% Vinny.
Vince. Now, I've got nothing against those names, just in case there's any Vinny or Vinces listening. You're
going to get hammered in the comments. Hammered in the comments section.
Oh, God. A whole 5 years.
By me.
I just didn't want it to be shortened. I really like the name Vincent. So we ended up just going for names that are basically one syllable and can't be shortened. So we fell on to, I really like the name Zach. It was either Zach or Max. But I think both are strong names you can't really go wrong with. But obviously, I don't really like Zachary.
I say because he's not really a Zachary or a Zacharias or whatever other names there are.
He's just Zach. Yeah. So I don't really like the full variations of it. Also, I think it's a bit confusing because there's like Zachariah, lots of different ones as well, and Max as well. Like Maximus. I think Maximus is a good name. I think it's just a bit of a mouthful. So we did something punchy, something to the point. So we went for Zach, we obviously chose Zach. For Ivy, we chose Ivy. But I do think this is quite an interesting topic because one thing that you mentioned in the intro was always people are scared to sort of have conversations, or not scared, but put off the idea of having conversations around baby names. And I can give you a story around it. And it's a funny story, but it is also a story that's like, this is the reason why people don't say their baby names. Before me and Sam had a child, we were sitting down with our family who had both recently had, or my oldest brother just recently had a child. And me and Sam were just talking about it. And we're like, oh, you know, if we were to have kids, what would we call them? And I remember having a conversation with her and saying, well, if it was a boy, it would be Max or Zach. And if it was a girl, I really like the name Ivy. I think it's sweet. I think it's nice. And my mum turned around and was like, Ivy? No, I don't really like that name. I've got a daughter named Ivy now.
Oh, Mrs. J, what are you doing?
It's a funny story. It's no discredit or anything like that. I just think it's one of the reasons why people are afraid to talk about baby names, right? Because I've had a daughter now. I had my son first. I now have a daughter, and she's called that name that my mum openly said, "Oh, I don't really like that name."
Yeah, that's a
So
right knee slapper, mate. That is.
But it's because the irony is that was like 5 years ago. That was like 4 or 5 years ago. And my daughter's only one, right? So she probably in her head she probably thought that they're not even pregnant. Baby's not even on the way. Probably a distant thought away. Therefore, I can say my opinion because everyone has an opinions. They're like opinions are like arseholes. Everyone has one, right? And
that's gorgeous.
Not saying, mum. I'm not saying you're an arsehole.
Abort, man.
Should we cut this bit as well? I just feel like we should just cut everything.
But it's
what was the? No, okay, we're on.
We're carrying on, right?
I thought you did a little wanky motion.
No, I just did that as in cut.
Well, cut that bit. That's fine.
Anyway,
sorry, yeah. So I find that an interesting story, but I like talking around people's baby names. And again, I don't mind talking about my baby names. I don't care if people criticize them. They're the names. I don't take it offensively. I don't get upset about it. I don't get annoyed about it. I find it's funny, right? So I'm quite open. But I know a lot of people are very paranoid and very sensitive about it and won't reveal the baby names until the baby's born and stuff like that. And I understand why. I do understand why. It is a sensitive subject for some people.
For those reasons, I kind of get it. So I get the reason of what happens if someone says they hate the name. Like I get, or it's like, oh, that's an interesting name. Code for that's a shit name. What I don't get, and what I know some people do, is I'm not saying the baby name in case one of my friends who is also pregnant hears it and likes the name more and names their kid that. I'm a bit like, I don't get that. Like, I find that a bit weird. Like, there's more than one Steve in the world, for example. Like, you can't go, no, that's my child's name. Like, it's like...
I do get that, though. I do get that.
Oh, why do you? You're one of those people I'm talking about.
No. Hear me out, right? Hear me out. I do get it because I think there's been multiple times where I've said, like, oh, if it was a boy, it'd be Zach or Max, or if it was a girl, it'd be Ivy. And I've had people either that I know that have named their child something, one of those names, or they've gone, oh, I really like that name. I really like. And then I'm thinking, if you have a girl and you call her Ivy, it's like you're almost waiting for that awkward conversation to say, can I have that name? Sort of thing. Is it all right if I steal that name and then you have to think of another one when you've got a daughter? Because before Zach, we didn't know whether having a boy or a girl, so it could have gone either way. And like, if you have a boy, can we have Ivy? Is that all right? I do understand. I'd be a little bit annoyed if I knew someone after having that conversation with them, and they've gone, yeah, we're going to name our daughter or son either one of the names. I'd be a little bit pissed off.
Oh no! See, I don't get that. Like, I don't get no. I suppose that's why people are different, aren't they? They have different opinions. But no, for me, it's like, just have whatever name you
grow
want.
up.
Grow up, yeah. That's one of the elements of it. But no, so it's interesting to talk about having a short name and stuff. That wasn't one of the things when we considered Oscar. Like, we had a ton of names for girls because we didn't know what we were having. Like, it was saved until the day. We had a ton of names for girls, like loads, but we had about 2 for boys, and even then we were like still not keen on them. So I was like, for the sake of admin, it'd be a lot easier if this was a girl, and obviously it was a boy. And even after he was born, it's not like we saw him straight away and went, oh, it's baby Blur. I can't remember how long. Was it the next day? Or no, I don't think it wasn't the next day. It was just a few hours later. It was a few hours later we were looking at him. And then really, I don't know if you've ever seen the is it Sesame Street? I think it's Sesame Street. Have you seen Oscar the Grouch? The guy that did the bin.
Yes.
Yeah. If you could edit in Oscar the Grouch now, just so everyone sees it, that would be class. Because basically, Oscar was one of like the top, let's say 3-4 names anyway, and then he just looked like really like Captain Miserable. Like he was there with like a really annoyed, grouchy face. We thought Oscar the Grouch, that's hilarious. And
in a trash can.
In a bin afterwards. And that's why we went for it. And ironically, what Sunning Shah always said for a boy and a girl is that she didn't want a name that ended in E. So like Jamie or...
Oh, is it because your surname?
Yeah, because it would be Pashley. So it'd be Amy Pashley. If it was a girl, for example, she wouldn't like that. But we called him Oski. Just by default, which I know is not short for Oscar. It almost sounds like a Russian or Eastern European version of Oscar.
Oski.
But we call him Oski all the time. So yeah, it's amazing how these things work out. You just find these weird little nicknames to call them.
Did you go through the list, right? When you had your list, did you go, oh, I know someone from school with that name, or I know someone who's I don't really like with that name. I got to get rid of that. I've got to get rid of that. Me and Sam had that every time we went through a list. It was like, oh, I really like that name. But Sam would be like, no, I went to school with a girl and she was a big bully or something like that. She was really obnoxious or something. So we had to get rid of a load of names just by that process.
Just by proxy. I agree. And it was twofold for us. So you have Shah, who's obviously been a teacher throughout our whole career, so will associate names to specific children who she's taught. And obviously I'm now not going to say where she's taught in case something comes back to bite her, but it would be a case of like, oh, I taught that kid and they were blah 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 blah, they acted in a certain way, I didn't like that. And for me it's typically always been people I have worked with, where I'm just like, oh no, I hate that guy, or oh no, it reminds me of so and so from Human Resources. Like it's a really weird kind of connection. So no, I get that. It blows out quite a lot when you think about it.
A lot. I think for us, it took over about 50-60% of our names. Even like, I think it definitely shortened the list down massively. And there were some names that we were definitely very, very, one of us was very, very keen on. It'd be like, I can't because I went to school with that guy or that girl or whatever.
You're not going to say the name, are you? Because it may come back to bite you.
No.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, I had a look at the top 10 names for last year, just out of curiosity, and they've got them as male, female, and gender neutral. And male, I'll just go through the top 5. You've got Asher, Theodore, Oliver, Noah, and Henry. Because and looking through the rest of the list, like these old school names like George and all that are sort of coming back in. So like Henry, Oliver, Asher. I don't know an Asher. I've never seen a baby Asher.
But again, is that for the UK?
You're questioning where it's come from. It's babynames.com. And
okay, it's probably taken from a number of geographic locations.
This is the United States, isn't it? Oh well,
but still,
that's still a large amount of people.
What interests me, because something you just mentioned there about baby names coming back in, right? Did you ever? And I still do it to this day. When you see a baby and you see someone like that names their baby of like a traditional name, right? So I don't really want to say any specific names in this, but let's just take a name that's sort of 50, 60 years old, right? Let's take maybe something like Vincent or Dave or something like that, right? And they go, oh, he's... This is where it gets dangerous, isn't it?
I actually cannot wait to see where you go with this.
They're just lovely names. That's what I just really like those names. That's where I want to add. No, what I was going to say is there's names that you don't hear of. The point that I'm trying to make without, I'm walking through a field of rabbit holes, and the rabbit holes are 10 meters wide, and there is like an inch gap between each hole.
I think minefield is better than rabbit holes.
Yeah, minefield. Oh yeah. Well, rabbit holes are less dangerous. But like, there are names that you don't really hear of right now that when you would probably think to yourself that, I couldn't imagine naming my child that name, right? But then 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, everyone was naming that baby that thing, right?
Exactly.
So do you think these names will eventually come back around? Like Bill, I don't know any, there's nothing wrong with that name, but I don't know any baby Bills. I don't know any baby Franks. I don't know any baby Richards. Like those sort of names you don't really hear of, right? But do you think they'll be popular again in 20 years' time?
So. I think so. Names are like clothes, aren't they? Like you have kids these days like genuinely dressing like 90s fashion is genuinely coming back. It's a weird thing. So I absolutely think it will come back. And something we forgot to mention is that sometimes, so Oscar, his middle name is Frederick. And it's like, that is one of those names you've just spent like, how many obviously there's Freddy's, there's lots of Freddy's about, but we've called him Frederick because that was my grandfather's name. So
I love the name Frederick. I don't like the name Freddie or Fred. Are
you just saying that to make me feel better?
About no. I think
names.
No, but it's the whole point of names. This is again the whole point of this is to go through the process of how people think when they go through those names. And Frederick is I think it's a great name, a beautiful name. Again, like Vincent that I gave earlier, shorting it. Like I used to know a guy called Freddie. His name was Fred, but Freddie, right? And I didn't really like him too much, so I was like, I couldn't imagine. But Frederick's too far away from that, so you can't relate them. But it'll get shortened when he's older.
Yeah.
All of these things you need to think about.
Yeah, I do think middle names are a popular kind of source for legacy family names. Like I know a lot of people who have named like their middle name as their dad, their kid's middle name as like their dad or grandfather or someone like that. Or same for
I like that. So, I like it if it's traditional. I think if you have a history, if your family has a history of doing it, I think it's great. I don't like it so. And again, it's an opinion. This is not but when people just chuck in random names that mean nothing, and they've never had a family history of middle names, and they want to try to be quirky or something like that, right? I don't like that too much, but that's each to their own. I'm sounding like the people that I hate. What did he do?
Oh, his kid's name is like a weird algorithm or something. Have you not heard of it?
No, I don't really follow Elon Musk.
Yeah, no, me neither. But yeah, his kid's name is spelt like it's going to make me sound stupid now because I'm not into anything particularly intelligent. It's like XAEA-XII.
Oh yeah.
That rolls off the
classic.
Rolls off the tongue. Yeah, so you could have done that. That wasn't in the list of the top names.
It will be in 10 years' time.
Yeah, probably. That's what names are going to be. We're just going to turn into binary and just be zeros and ones.
What about nicknames? So something you mentioned earlier. So Ivy, we've not, and Zach to some degree, but more so since Ivy's been born, we barely ever call her by her name, right? We actually call her Missy. Like you'd be like, what the hell? Yeah, Missy. We actually never call her Ivy.
That is a name.
Missy. Yeah, what, like Missy Elliott? Go get your frick on. Go get your frick on. Go get your frick on.
Okay.
Quiet.
That's not... I don't even know what song that is, but
it's Missy Elliott. Get your freak on.
Okay. No, that's not what I was getting at.
Well.
But
oh, okay.
Why do you? Why don't you explain where Missy comes from?
Let's just right. So you take my name. I'll tell you by singing Missy Elliott to you. No, I've never heard of the name Missy apart from Missy Elliott. I can't get that song out of my head.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, I can't wait.
And thank you very much for listening to the podcast.
That's now going to be that's going to be our intro music to the podcast.
Like Missy is just a nickname, like it evolved from anything. Like as they do. Like if you take the history of my name, my original name to where it is now, you'd be like all the names that you've known me for over the years I've been born. Like you'd be like, well, how did I end up here? How did I get called that? How do you know what I mean? So it's just happens. It's just naturally evolved, and it would start off with something small, like I don't know, I can't think of an example, but the name has just come out of nowhere, and we've called her it since she's born.
I mean, surely everyone has weird little nicknames for their kids, right? Stop singing that. I mean, the weird shit we call Oscar, like Oscar. It started with Oscar. There was Oski. There's Oski Posky, and sometimes it's just Posk. Like it's like so. It's not even a name.
That's exactly it. That's
like,
exactly how it evolves.
So we're like, oh, Posk, what are you doing? It's like that's not a name for a start. Like,
it is. Yeah, it definitely is.
But it is. We can't help it now, and I worry he'll be 18. Well, Oski Posky. He's like, fuck off, Dad. Like, I don't know why he's got a weird American accent.
Why is he? Why is he American?
Fuck off, Dad.
We're going to have to beep out the F-bombs.
Oh, probably. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, anyway, I feel like I need to, for the sake of my OCD, now read you the top 5 female and the top 5 gender neutral. So,
okay.
Female is Aurora was number 1. Don't know a baby Aurora. Again, this is the US. Violet. Charlotte. Amelia. And Hazel. Lovely names.
Not really nice names.
I always remind me of Violet Beauregard from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and she was a bit of a...
She's the one that turns into the blueberry.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. No.
It's floating away.
No, she's not. Oh, no, it was. I can't remember. And Jen is Rowan, Willow, Avery, Ezra, and Quinn. Not Quinn.
So Quinn, I think me and Sam discussed the name Quinn potentially, but we thought it was a bit American. Yeah.
Quinn sounds like a Irish detective that should have his own series.
I was going to do an Irish accent then, but
I'm so glad you didn't. It would have been horrendous.
It was I think Quinn. I think we discussed Quinn, and then the other one was Elijah. We really like the name Elijah.
So Elijah, I can see that, and I actually think that's up there. It is, yeah. I got Google open at the moment, which is really helpful. So in the UK, Noah, Oliver, Elijah, Matteo, and Lucas, which coincidentally Lucas was on our shortlist too, which I really like. I think if we had another boy, it would be a Lucas. But there'd be Lukey Pukey. I don't know. That's the sort of stuff that goes in my head anyway. Anyone else?
How the names can evolve, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But no, that's yeah, that's the story of Oscar anyway.
I think I always think it's an interesting topic because it's something that, again, knowing that my brothers and everyone that's just had kids recently, you always want to probe, you always want to ask, you always want to find out, but everyone is always a little bit like, I'm not sure yet, and I'll decide when they come out and stuff like that. But I always think it's like I think bringing it up today does highlight some of those and why people are like that, right? Yeah, because people have already had conversations in the past where they've been like, you know.
Well, even me and you don't align on, you know, why you wouldn't say why you would tell someone a certain name or whatever. Like, It's just a fact that we didn't know we were going to call him Oscar. But if, let's say, we had it in our head that he's definitely an Oscar, because that's another thing, right? Some people have already decided their baby name before they see the baby. And for me personally, I do find that, like, I don't know I could do that. I need to see them before I go, oh, that's a Reginald.
Do you think that anyone, and they might do, but do you think that, I think you manifest that, right? I don't think your baby's born and ever looks like a name. It's, you assign it in your head, that name. So would it, like, I do know what you're saying by it, but the reality is that a thing?
Yeah, I know people no one that. Looks like their name. Like,
well, I know, that's what I mean. Like, that's what I mean. Do you think people change their baby's name based on? Doesn't really look like a Jeff.
100%.
Should I?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think?
Yeah, and that is weird. Like, there's got to be some sort of psychology behind that, because you're right. It's you look like a Billy. Like, it just doesn't.
But it's the equivalent of someone coming up to you and saying, who doesn't know you, you meet him for the first time. You said, "Oh, hi, I'm Steve." And someone says, "Oh, you don't look like a Steve."
People say that, though, don't they?
Who says that?
I mean, people do. I swear I've heard that in conversation. I mean, maybe no one said it to me directly, but I've definitely heard that sort of thing.
How do you react? What do I look like then? Assign me a name. Well, tell me.
I don't go on the offensive like you seem to. It's like, well, what do you want to call it? But, no, that's definitely a thing. That's that people say, "Oh, you don't look like a so-and-so. Oh, you look like a so-and-so." Like, it's the same with, people do it with football teams. "Oh, you look like a Arsenal fan," or "You look like a Chelsea fan." Like, people have these weird kind of, I don't know what it is, some sort of
preconceptions.
It's just perception, isn't it? It's this person looks a certain way, and they probably associate that to an experience in their life. And
that's a very dangerous road to tread, my friend. Right? Maybe I just don't judge people.
Yeah, I agree. But that's got to be what it is, isn't it? It's like, you look like this person that, impacted me in this way, and therefore you're that guy.
I get that to a degree, but with names. I mean, that's
right, well, I'm no psychologist, but that's my theory behind the whole thing.
Right. It's been a good chat, Steve. I appreciate it.
Good chat indeed.
Thanks for bringing it up.
To the next one.
Good stuff. Right, that's it for the podcast today. Thank you for listening. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, new episodes every Sunday. Take care.